Thank you for being here today. There's going to be like a little bit of dead air just as we let people in, and then I'll introduce your instructor for today in just a little bit. So just make yourself comfortable. I'll give it one more minute or so. Those of you just entering, thank you as well for being here. Folks are gradually starting to arrive, so we'll just wait another minute or so, and then I will introduce your instructor for today. Thank you for being here on this beautiful Saturday. Okay, well, it is noon, so I am just going to introduce your instructor for the day and welcome everyone to Gesture Drawing with College for Creative Studies. This workshop will be taught by CCS pre-college instructor Abby Ferry, who you see on my screen in the top left corner, but she's waving. Abby, illustrator and caricature artist with a passion for character design. As a CCS Entertainment Arts animation alumni, her work is primarily inspired by both Western and Eastern cartoons. And one of her main goals is to encourage students to explore character movement and posing through gesture drawing. So a reminder to those of you here today, all you'll need is a sketchbook and drawing tool. So pencil, pen, marker, whatever you have. And without further ado, I will let Abby take it away.
All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. I hope that you're all doing well today. I hope that you can hear me as well. Could you give me a big thumbs up if you can? Awesome, great. All right, so we're gonna get started. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. Oh wait, Laura, I think I'm currently unable to share screens.
I'll change that for you, Abby.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. All right, let me see. All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Laura. All right, so hopefully you can all see my screen. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So again, welcome to Gesture Drawing for Animation by the College for Creative Studies. It's a beautiful Saturday today. I hope that you're all excited to learn a little bit about the basics of gesture drawing, because I think it is perhaps, besides, figure drawing, anatomical studies, all kinds of other studies, it's perhaps one of the most important things when it comes to animation, because it really teaches you how to breathe energy into your posing, into your character's actions, as well as just give you a general sense of motion in your drawings overall. So again, it's really nice to meet you. My name is Miss Abby, or you can call me Abby Ferry. I'm an illustrator and a caricature artist, and I will be teaching you some of the basics of gesture drawing today. So before we begin, I'm kind of curious, have any of you ever done gesture drawing before? And if you have, could you maybe like digitally raise your hand or raise your hand at all? Kind of curious to see who has. All right, awesome. So it seems like a lot of people have. That's great. And maybe if you could, feel free to kind of maybe share your thoughts about it in the chat section, like what you think about it, how it's useful, or maybe your experiences with it. I love to read that. So let me go ahead and just open the chat real quick. And I'll read that in just a second. I'm just going to continue a second more while you're all replying. So what is gesture drawing? So gesture drawing is typically a quick sketch, which may range from a few seconds. Sometimes people do 10-second gesture drawings, which is really fast, to 5 minutes, sometimes even 10 minutes. But typically gesture drawing is kind of focusing on getting a pose down as quickly as possible. We're not really trying to go past 10 minutes, because then it would kind of become some kind of figure study or anatomical study as opposed to necessarily a gesture drawing. Um, so what a gesture drawing really focuses on is the form, the pose, and the action of a character or figure. As you can see here, we have all kinds of poses, but we don't really have like the intricate details of the figure, which is a really important thing to note. Um, while we're doing gesture drawing, we don't really focus on like facial expressions or like tiny details such as the fingers or the toes. You're just really going for the point of getting the overall main posing of a figure. And as you can see, sometimes with gesture drawing, you might have a lot of loose lines in between. It isn't necessarily fully cleaned up, fully rendered. You're just really going for that essence of energy and movement within it. So let's take a look at some more examples. So some people have a certain preference for how they kind of do their gesture drawings. Some people prefer like maybe doing one full contour line really quickly. Some people like blocking in maybe the shadows to kind of do a gesture light study as well, or value study within their gesture drawing. So that's why I sometimes recommend charcoal drawings. And then as you can see here, here's some more where it's even more simplified. They're just getting basic lines down and nothing more. So how does gesture drawing relate to animation? So in animation, as you may know, animators are trying to draw multiple frames, in fact, 24 frames per second typically, which means it's a lot of drawings that you have to do. And with a lot of drawings, you also have to do a lot of posing. So in animation, it's an important skill to learn how to quickly capture the movement of the human body or a figure's body, um, because it allows you to animate even faster and really pick up the speed without necessarily losing that quick reading of what is happening in the pose. And this is especially important when it comes more so to the rough stages of animation where you're just roughing out the movement as opposed to cleanup. But overall, it really helps enhance an animation. And as you can see here on the left, which we'll talk about in a second, is the line of action seen in Squidward, SpongeBob, as well as Tom up here. And also in a way too, smear frames kind of also capture a gesture because they focus on exaggerating that motion or that gesture overall. And so in animation, quickly capturing and exaggerating the movement of the human body through a line of action is extremely important. It's also an element found in gesture drawing and practice quickly in gesture drawing. So practicing gesture drawing daily not only really helps to improve the speed of your drawing overall, but it also improves your observational and imaginative skills for posing and also just generally for movement. So what is line of action? So as we see here, we have this figure on the left, and I kind of just drew a line of action. So the shoulders and the hips, I just kind of threw in there to kind of show you kind of how that is working as well. But the main line of action is this curve right here. So it's not necessarily a straight up and down line. He's kind of leaning to the side a little bit and kind of moving his body in this direction with the weight. So a line of action is basically an imaginary curved line that flows through the body from the character's head or the figure's head to their toes. So it flows throughout their body and throughout the pose. It helps to better define the emotion and energy of a pose, both in gesture and in animation. So as you can see, kind of here's an example down at the bottom, one of a character punching another character, and it kind of looks flat with like that straight up and down line, right? It's like, sure, we can tell it's a punch, but we really don't feel the force or energy behind it yet. There really isn't strength behind this one. It's kind of like a light punch. While this one, you could tell that it's a lot more forceful. He's really pushing that other character back. It's a really heavy, really strong punch. So it goes to show that with a different line of action, as you can see here with these red lines, it can really change the dynamic of the energy within a character's pose. Um, Another thing that we can kind of take a look at that can also help us while first getting into our gesture drawing is to consider the overall silhouette. And of course, during gesture drawing, as you might know since you've experienced it before, it can be kind of hard to kind of determine a silhouette sometimes. And that might be because you might have a reference image with a background. You might be doing only 10 seconds and you can't really think about it too much. But the more you kind of like look at the outer shape at first, it can also help you possibly not only find a line of action, but it can also kind of give you an indication of maybe some of the outer shapes you should be looking for. So in the realm of animation, a sign of a clear pose is whether or not you can kind of tell what's happening by the silhouette alone. So as you can see here, with this same guy, I kind of created a silhouette for him. And as you can see, you can still kind of tell what's going on. We can see his limbs right here. We can see his legs right here. We can see he's kind of leaning to the side slightly, and we still feel that energy. So that isn't to say that you can't have poses where it kind of is a little less readable, but the more clear a pose is and the more easily readable it is through a silhouette, oftentimes the better it is and the more communicative it is to a viewer. And again, it helps build the inner forms of a gesture drawing. So as you can see here, here's another example of kind of how silhouettes are good in the realm of animation. As you can see here, you can easily tell what kind of pose Mickey Mouse is doing. He has his arms out. You can tell where his legs are, where his tail is, how his head is tilting up in perspective. Same thing goes here with Daffy Duck. You can tell by his shoulders and the slight indication of his elbow and his forearm that he's kind of crossing his arms. There's a good line of action that kind of gives him like this confident posing, but also kind of like charismatic and maybe a little goofy. So it's really great posing overall. So another thing to note too, in gesture drawing, it's important to note that we really don't erase lines typically. And the reason why I think sometimes it's good to use charcoal or marker while doing gesture drawing is it really prevents you from going back and going into that habit of possibly erasing a line. It's like once you have that line down, there's no going back. But at the same time, this is because we are looking to save time while drawing, since typically, again, gesture drawing might last for only a few minutes. So we really can't waste even a second when we could be using that very same second that we're erasing to possibly create another line or observe our reference image in a more meaningful way. Plus, the more important thing is for gesture drawing, we're not really looking for accuracy, we're really looking for energy. And plus, the good thing is too, with gesture drawing, because it's such a quick sketch, if you don't like how your gesture drawing resulted, you can go back and do another one, another one, another one, until you feel happy with the motion in your gesture. So, some suggested steps before we kind of delve into some practice today, and I might do a quick demo up here just to kind of show you. So again, take a second or two to kind of take in everything going on with the pose. Start to look at action, kind of maybe shift your body a bit to into the pose, feel how it feels yourself. I think that sometimes that's a good thing where if you try to get into the same pose, you can kind of feel where the weight's shifting, how you might turn your body, and how you might want to start putting the motion down. You might want to look for an overall silhouette if it's very visible, the shapes of the pose, and again, the overall energy of the pose. I think that sometimes it's good to possibly begin by drawing the head because the head helps form the rest of the body's pose since it connects to the spine. Some people don't prefer starting with the head, and if it doesn't work for you, that's fine. But I do think that it could be a good way to start getting in the habit of beginning your gesture drawings. Finally, make meaningful curved lines. So don't draw lines just for the sake of having lines. While you're doing gesture drawing, try to think before you put a line down. Now, I know, again, that's very difficult the first few times because it goes by so quickly, but the more and more you practice gesture drawing, the more you'll find that you're able to tell when you're ready to make a meaningful line down on the page. And again, it's very important that these lines are mostly curved. Even if a line looks straight, you might want to add the slightest curvature to it because, again, with most things on the human figure, it's likely organic. It's not going to look stiff. It's not going to look like it was man-made. It's organic and flowing. So you want to try to add curves. So with that being said, before we get started with this demo, I'm just going to briefly do like a quick 30-second demo for you all with this same pose right here, and you can feel free to follow along if you like. So for 30 seconds, as you can imagine, that's not a lot of time, right? And let me go ahead and just pin myself really quickly in case you want to see. So I'm going to take my marker, and again, I strongly recommend if you have some kind of utensil where it has the ability to both give you thinner brush strokes and thicker brush strokes in case you want to block in certain areas. Strongly recommend that. If you have a pencil or a pen, though, that's also perfectly fine. So first things that we're going to do is with my 30 seconds beginning, starting now, I'm going to go ahead and start with the head, kind of give like an indication of maybe the shoulders. Try to lock in the hand right here. And again, we're not really looking for anatomical accuracy. We're just kind of looking for maybe the overall gesture of the pose. So and just like that, the 30 seconds is over. So as you can see, it's very difficult. Another thing that you can do too is if you're struggling with worrying about your own anatomical accuracies while doing gesture drawing, the first thing you could do is just immediately go in and just start blocking as quickly as possible. Indicate here, indicate here, indicate here. Maybe I indicate that the leg is going back a bit. And just like that, it's over again. So it's really fun to do gesture drawing because it's like kind of a challenge to see how quickly you can put something down. So with that being said, hopefully that demo kind of gave you a little idea as a warm up, maybe how quickly you have to go, what you might have to leave out in terms of details. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to practice together. So first we're going to start with 1-minute poses. So go ahead, grab your drawing utensil, please. Preferably something that you could create both broad and thin brush strokes with. If you don't, again, have one, feel free to just use whatever is available. And feel free to give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready. And we are going to go ahead and get started. All right, so it seems thumbs up. Okay, I see quite a few thumbs up. All right. All right, so we're going to get started then. So 3, 2, 1, go. So remember, just trying your best to get the indications of this pose. All right, 20 seconds left. All right, next pose. All right, and next pose. All right, awesome. So before we move on to the next section, I'm just kind of curious, how is everybody feeling? What was your experiences with that quick gesture drawing? Maybe what were some of your thoughts going through your head during it? Feel free to digitally raise your hand or manually raise your hand, and I can call on you so you could share. All right, so it seems like everybody is doing good. Also, 1 second, let me just stop sharing my screen really briefly so I can read the chat. So Michaela says, it's normally my go-to thing when I lack ideas. Michaela says, I have done it in my life drawing classes, but only recently. I am interested in learning more to properly teach my students. That's great. And A. Cummins says, I did a lot in college where the instructor took us to watch the ballet and dance class, and we had 2 minutes to try and capture the pose. I think we will leave a 2-hour class with 35 drawings. Yes, it's really incredible how many drawings you can accumulate in just a couple of hours with gesture drawing. So it's really great. Um, Fantastic. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts to everybody. So now, as you might have seen, 1 minute can really allow us to understand what the very essential core of a pose needs to have. Like, you really just need to block in the head, the shoulders, um, the maybe things such as the indications of the arms, the legs, the main body. But you really got to be very, very quick with it to the point where you might really lose a lot of accuracy with it. But that's okay again. So what we're going to do for these 3-minute poses is we're going to continue. But before we do, another thing that you can do if you'd like to try it is I will briefly show you, again, something really quickly where sometimes people, when they gesture draw, they might, for instance, do one continuous line where you might fill in the body like this, you kind of do indications like this. If that would be of interest to you to practice, you can feel free to do it for this round. It kind of helps fill in form too, but it definitely is something that takes a little bit of getting used to, especially since you don't lift up your pen. But it's particularly fun, and it can really help kind of add that organic feeling to your drawing too. So let's go ahead. Feel free to give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready for these next 3 minutes, and we will get started. So remember, this time we could probably try to capture some more details, but still the main focus is that action and movement. So 3, 2, 1, go. All right, 10 seconds left. All right, next pose. All right, 4 seconds left. All right, and next pose. So for this one, if you want, you could also try to start capturing maybe some of the wrinkles and folds within the shirt or the pants. But if you want to just focus on the figure's pose, you can feel free to do that too. All right, 8 seconds left. All right, so great job with those 3-minute poses. Um, and of course, as you can see, what's really great about maybe starting off with some shorter time poses is I typically find that when you start off with really quick poses like 30-second poses or 10-second poses or even 1-minute poses, it really helps start to loosen you up, get you picking up the speed really quickly. Because if you start your gesture drawing warm up with kind of going straight into 3 minutes or 5 minutes, if you go downwards to 1 minute or 10 seconds, you'll find that you won't have as much momentum. But if you build upwards as a warm up, like you go from 10 seconds to maybe 1 minute to 3 minutes to 5 minutes, you'll find that you're able to really warm up in an efficient way. You'll have a lot of speed. You'll be able to capture things a lot more easily. And the good part is typically, you know how sometimes when we're first getting into drawing for the day, we can create some really maybe what we'd call or deem for ourselves bad sketches based on our own skills. Um, it's good to kind of knock those poses out of the way as a warm up. In fact, I think that gesture drawing is perhaps one of the best warm ups to kind of start the day with. It helps loosen up your drawing, and overall, it can really get you in the flow of drawing for the day. So, with that being said, I think for these last couple of poses that we're going to do, and I think we're going to go back and possibly try to do one of the previous poses. And if you all want to, you can feel free to, once we're done with these next two poses, help choose which pose we kind of work on for another 5 minutes just to compare the two. Um, in this one, feel free to take a look at, again, the clothing folds, possibly try to capture the muscles or the indications of the muscles. And even though the lighting isn't the best for it, for these images, since it's pretty evenly distributed, if you ever go online and you go to like Pinterest or maybe other reference image sites and you really like the lighting of a certain pose drawing, you can also, during these 5-minute poses, often do a little bit of a quick value study block in as part of the gesture drawing. But unfortunately, these images are really like evenly lit, so I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that, but you can go ahead and try if you'd like to indicate some of those values. So with that being said, um, are we all ready to do some 5-minute poses? Okay, perfect. Um, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna give you a quick countdown. So remember, feel free to possibly what some people like to do is just do a brief indication sketch and possibly try to do a little bit more of accuracy during these gesture drawings. But again, um, first and foremost, just get that energy down. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. right, so we have about 30 seconds left for this pose. All right. So here we go with this next and I guess technically final pose. We're going to choose together one other pose that we're going to redo that was not in the 5-minute poses, but let's go ahead and get this last one in. So as you can see, this one might be a little bit more where you can start to possibly indicate the muscles or any kind of like pressure and weight that you might see. All right, so we have about 1 minute more for this pose. Sorry about my dog. I'm not sure if you heard. All right. So great job. So that is it for that pose. So I hope that that experience was interesting for you. I know that maybe some of you are a lot more familiar with gesture drawing than maybe others. Maybe you have a lot of experience. Um, did you enjoy the fast pace? Was it challenging? And was there anything that maybe you were not expecting to realize maybe about gesture drawing previously? So feel free to write that in the chat. And while you're sharing your thoughts, let's go ahead and feel free to let me know if there is any certain pose that you'd like to um, try again for a little bit longer, since we have a couple of minutes left, or maybe if you have any questions too right now, feel free to ask them. Um, so yeah, um, go ahead and let me know in the chat. So I'll just wait I think you both are typing, so no worries. Feel free to finish typing up your thoughts. Um, so while we are wrapping up too, if you would like to do another pose, we can. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer them right now about gesture drawing or um, oh, here we go. So Michaela said, I enjoyed it. I am more of a perfectionist, but this helps with being more flowy and not seeking perfection on the first go. It was challenging not being able to erase, but towards the end, it got easier. I definitely agree, and I completely understand. When I first was doing gesture drawing, I was like, I can't handle this. I want to correct it, but it's really nice once you get in the flow of it and like you kind of get in the even the mindset and also like the feeling of gesture drawing, because once you realize like, oh, I don't have to necessarily make it perfect the first go, um, everything starts to settle in and it feels a lot better. um, and also like you mentioned, it really helps with increasing the flowiness of a drawing. You'll find that the more you practice, the more you might be adding even like slight little gestures to your drawing, so it's really great. And no worries, Michaela, technical difficulties are always present. And Juana says, do you mind sharing this presentation? Yes. I'm not sure if I have any of your contact information, but I can ask maybe admissions CCS to pass along this presentation to you all, if that would be okay. Um, so yes, I can definitely do that for you. Does Yeah, and then admissions CCS says it's being recorded too. So yay. Um, so any other questions for right now? All right. Seems like no other questions for right now. So I think what we'll do.
Abby,
Oh
I
yes.
didn't mean to interrupt you. I think there was a question from Juana about the background. It was there
Oh.
of the other
Oh.
question.
Okay, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, I got lost in the chat really quickly. I'm so sorry, Juana. So interestingly enough, so where I got these poses from is a site called mrcutout.com. And originally, I just discovered this recently in the realm of like architecture mock-ups and also graphic design. There's sites like this where they have basically these cutouts of people to use in like architectural mock-ups. Great reference images. I love it. Because it's so evenly lit, it's very clear with the posing. And then also, if you ever want to like find a reference image but remove the background yourself, there's also a site called remove.bg, where it converts like your images automatically into a PNG and it removes the background for you. Strongly recommend it. It is a life changer. All right, awesome. And thank you for asking. It's a very good question. All right, awesome. Of course. Any other questions for now? Awesome. Well, if you all want to, we still have a couple minutes left. We can try our hand again at one of these poses that were maybe 1 minute just to kind of see what we can do now that we've warmed up a bit more. Do you all have a preference for which one you'd like to do? Um, this one, maybe? All right. Sounds good. All right. So I will give you all like 5 minutes and we're going to see how much more we can improve with this gesture as opposed to the previous one. So get ready. Um, and we will start in um, three. Actually, wait, I think people are still getting their stuff. Sorry. All right. Give me a thumbs up whenever you're ready. All right. Awesome. Okay. Perfect. So 3, 2, 1. So let's go ahead and do 5 minutes for this one and see how much more that we can capture in terms of detail. While we're working on this, I'm just going to do a quick little spiel. So I think one of the things that's really great about gesture drawing is as a warm up, if you use it for a warm up every day, you'll find again, like I mentioned before, that if you do this before you like start drawing for the day, um, all of a sudden when you're using reference images or kind of like just looking at any kind of reference image whatsoever, you'll find that you'll be able to not only capture the pose a lot more easily, but you'll also be able to like kind of add like your own imaginative twist to it in a way that's very flowy and energetic. So it really helps, especially if you're like in the sketching stage as opposed to maybe like the cleanup stage of your drawing, to do this as a warm up, because it'll really give you the ability to um, add a lot of life to your posing. So we have a couple of seconds left. I think about 30 seconds. So feel free to start maybe wrapping up any last minute details that you want to put down. All right. Awesome. So if you might look back at the original gesture drawing that you did for this one, you might find that with the more amount of time that you had with this, um, not only might you have been able to add more details, but also you might have a better gesture drawing that you really like now. There might be a lot more energy to it. Maybe also you prefer the previous one. It depends, but really it'll show you that with more time, of course, you'll get better results, but also if you kind of build up with going from 1 minute to 3 minutes to 5 minutes, it'll really help get you in that flow for the day. So thank you all so very much for coming today. I really appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed learning about gesture drawing and getting to experience some more of it. And keep up the great work. And thank you so much again. All right.
Thank you, Abby. And those
Yeah.
educators in the room today, I shared a link for resources for the future. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope it's sunny where you are too.
Yeah. Hopefully it's just as great of a Saturday. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of course. Bye. You too. Bye-bye.